How's it going, everybody? Thanks for hanging out. I'm Orlando Ruiz Jr. Talking about another old film. This one is a film from 1981. Stars James Caan. Those of you that may not know, you're actually maybe familiar with this guy if you've seen movies like Eraser, where he played the villain, the 1996 Arnold Schwarzenegger action film. 1990s Misery, Rob Reiner film, great thriller, where he played Paul Sheldon. Or maybe you know him as Papa Elf from Jon Favreau's 2003 Christmas classic. At least it is in my place. Elf. Remember he played Elf's dad. So for me, James Caan is an actor that makes every movie that he's in, a little more better just by being in it. So in this movie, he's the star of the film. And Guy does carry a movie as a star. He's not just a great supporting actor. And this film very much proves it for those of you that haven't seen any of his work as a protagonist, as a main protagonist. And this is a really cool crime film. So 1981's Thief, director Michael Mann's first film. This is the guy that made Heat back in 1995. And those of you that may have seen Tom Cruise and Jamie Foxx in Collateral, this is a guy that knows how to make a great film. His style, even though this came out in the early 80s, still very much prevalent here. The way he shoots, the authenticity he brings to a crime story. Everyone that is familiar with Heat knows how authentic and how real sounding the gun violence, the shootouts are in that film. Especially the scene in the street between the cops and robbers, the big sequence in the middle of the film. So yeah, even in that film, there's a lot of sort of, the kind of things that you would think a consultant might have been behind, as far as a technical consultant, somebody that is making sure that everything looks like something that would have been done in real life. That's one of the things I love about the best crime films, and that's something that this one definitely serves up. All the stuff in here, all the high stuff, really feels like there must have been some kind of advisor, because it's way, way too realistic. This really does feel like if somebody wanted to go and start doing this kind of thing for a living. This movie, excuse me, really depicts it in the most realistic way possible, in terms of the way they pulled some of these jobs off, the tools that they would use, just regular construction type tools. It's what professionals would use. And, a lot of times instead of, like in movies where, you see people picking locks or trying to use some kind of fancy combination opening device, this movie shows you what they would really do. They would just take off the locking mechanisms in a lot of these systems that would make these securities, make the security for certain locks. They would just basically just dismantle these things and I should have drank more water before I started. And basically disassemble whatever they're trying to break into. Sometimes they flat out just bust holes in ceilings. It's the kind of stuff that you saw the Hole in the Wall gang do in movies like Casino. Is that what they were called? The Hole in the Wall gang? I just remember a hole in the wall. I think that's what they called Joe Pesci's crew or something. At least that's what I think from memory. So yeah, James Caan, he's one of those guys. He always sounds real natural. Just something about the way he talks and the way he delivers his dialogue. He's just a lot of fun to watch. He's real cool in this movie. Macho guy, doesn't really take any crap from anybody. So when there's a guy that wants to hire him for a couple of jobs, and James Caan gets pissed off when he doesn't get his money that's owed to him. Yeah, the guy who does have that Sonny Corleone temper in this film, it's very much there throughout. And he's not a complete hothead though. He does show a lot of restraint at times. So this performance, it's fun to watch because you're seeing a very dynamic character here. He goes from can be really sort of pissed off at one point to, he knows when to pretty much hold it back in certain situations, especially social situations. He's not like an antisocial kind of guy. He has a legitimate business. He runs a car dealership. He has a little sidebar. He does have little legitimate businesses to make it look like he has like a day job. But of course, by night, he's a professional thief. And there's a woman that he's interested in. There's sort of a love story there, played by a great actress, Tuesday Weld. They have a problem with having a child, so they decide they want to adopt. And this kind of becomes an issue for them because given this, the main character, given his criminal past, he's did some time in prison. So when you're seeing him in the film, he's only been out for about 4 years. So for a guy that's been out just about 4 years and has a successful business and is doing so well, like he says in the movie, I change. Like he tells this woman, he's like, I change, cars like most guys change their shoes, something like that. But yeah, there's so many cool lines, and you'll see some familiar faces in this film. Robert Prosky, Willie Nelson. Willie Nelson's in this movie. Anytime I've ever seen Willie Nelson in a movie, he's always done pretty good as an actor, surprisingly. And he plays like the James Cann mentor, like his mentor from back in the day in this film. You'll see a young Jim Belushi in this. Dennis Farina is in this movie. He plays a henchman for the bad guy. Those of you that know Get Shorty, you'll remember Dennis Farina. He was Ray Bones. Fuck you, fuck ball. Love Get Shorty. And this was one of Jerry Bruckheimer's early '80s films. He produced this movie. Would later on go on to produce Beverly Hills Cop and Top Gun, The Rock, Bad Boys, Armageddon, a lot of the great summer action films, Con Air, and later on the Pirates movies. So, I honestly, before I came across this film, like a couple of years ago, I had no idea. The team up, Michael Mann, James Caan, Jerry Bruckheimer, it's a pretty good combination. So those of you that are familiar with this director, this actor, this producer, please check this film out. I don't think you'll regret it. I came across this film by accident a couple of years ago on TV, and it was kick-ass. There's kind of a slow build-up because it's not an action film, but there are pretty good little bits of action throughout the movie, just in like the high stuff. But once you get to the climax of the third act, it pretty much goes on to become an action film once the third act kicks in. And the music score enhances this film so beautifully. I love the music in this film done by Tangerine Dream. I remember watching there's two different cuts of the movie, 1986 Legend. 1986's Legend, directed by Ridley Scott. Really good Tom Cruise movie. And if you watch the two different versions, there's one that has a theatrical cut with a score done by Tangerine Dream and a director's cut. Jerry Goldsmith score, that's right. And yeah, Tangerine Dream has really cool music, and they did the score for 1981's Thief. If you guys enjoyed the music in Heat, you're gonna love this score. It's very reminiscent to me of a lot of the music you heard in Heat. Towards the end of this film, there's a song that plays out through the final shootout that gives me some serious Pink Floyd vibes. Now, those of you that are familiar with Pink Floyd, this sounds like some Pink Floyd. No, it's not. It's Tangerine Dream. But I swear it's like the director was like, hey, give me a Pink Floyd sort of feel with the music towards the end. I don't know if that's true, but I certainly got some Pink Floyd vibes from it. And Yeah, those of you that remember the scene in Heat where Vincent Hanna, played by Al Pacino, is driving down the freeway at a really fast speed trying to catch up to Robert De Niro. And there's a really awesome track on the soundtrack. It sounds like just a cool guitar riff mixed in with like a really cool beat. A lot of those kind of riffs play throughout this movie. So yeah, this movie, excellent, excellent music going all throughout it. So, just another great highlight. Besides, the cool crime story and James Caan's, great performance. So, you will see certain things that might be, I guess, by now considered cliche. In the third act, like I said, once the bad guy, what's the guy who reveals himself to be the bad guy, we find out really isn't such a buddy of James Caan. Once they start going at it with James Caan versus the goons, and then James Caan versus the bad guy. The movie kicks into high gear for sure. But like I said, for the most part, this isn't an action film. It is a crime thriller with some very good action in it. Some very solid, well shot action, I might add. And considering, this is the guy who directed Heat, that should be no surprise to many of you. So if you enjoyed a film like 95's Heat, highly recommend you check out 1981's Thief. Same director, his first film, and for a first film, excellent, quite excellent. I give this film 3.5 stars, and highly recommend it. I came across this film a couple of times, I think last year on Tubi, and so I'm sure it's on a streaming service. But every now and then you get the problem where, like I've said before, you're watching one of these streaming services and the lips, the voice is out of sync or something, or for me, I always go with the hard copies, and that's what that looks like. That's the Blu-ray. There's James Caan looking cool, 1981. So yeah, it's out there. Those hard copies. They say the physical media is going out, but I try to get them while they're still around, because one day they will be all gone. So it's nice, as you can see. I like to collect. Not everybody, I guess, likes to collect, but I love movies. So as long as they're still around, as long as there's a hard copy to get, yes, it will be mine. So thanks for hanging out. Always appreciate it. If you like this kind of thing, please subscribe, hit that bell. You want to look out for more of these. I keep them coming every couple days, sometimes every day if I can, sometimes 2 at a time if I can. So it just depends, really. But yeah, look out for more of these. There are way many more on the way. I have so many films to talk about, it's not even funny. So yeah, thanks for hanging out. And check out 1981's Thief, starring James Caan. Kick-ass crime film. So until next time, be sure to, comment. Don't be shy. I'm going to comment my stuff every now and then myself, and I'll be honest. I'll let you guys know what I think. Yes, he needs improvement. Yes, he kind of sucks, but I'll get better. Just give him some time. He's working on it. Got to work on my lisp and stuff, but little by little. So thanks for hanging out. Share, like, all that stuff. I appreciate you. And until next time, God bless.